Hey everybody, this is Linda and welcome to Lenny P's Place. I'm here today with my tags number 13 and 14 for the hashtag 52 tag handmade challenge that Ann Brooke is hosting. I had a little emergency last week and I got behind. I couldn't get my tag finished, so I had to do two this week. So I've got them done, and so I'm just wanted to show them to you real quick. So yeah, we'll start with number 13, and we had to do layers. So this is what I came up with. I used a piece of yellow fabric in the back, and then I used some cheesecloth, and I just kind of spread it out, and then I kind of just rolled it up a little bit on the sides and couched that down. And then I cut this little leaf applique out of a piece of fabric that I had, and I sewed that down, and then I used a piece of thick embroidery floss for the stem, added a button to use as a flower and stitched around that, used some French knots, and then in between the French knots I did some seed stitches, and then over here I did some cross stitching. Then I laid down a piece of eyelet trim and put French knots in the centers of the flowers, and then did some running stitch along the edge here of the trim. Then I used this piece of fabric here. I did some French knots and some cross stitching in between. Laid this piece of fabric down and did some chain stitching. Laid some embroidery floss down here and couched it down. Then I added this piece of trim and attached it with French knots, and then put this piece of fabric down that had some fringe along the bottom of it. Added this piece of burlap, and then three buttons, and that's that tag. So this is my tag number 14. And for this one, we had to use we had to do a pocket and a treasure. So I chose to use mostly white and accented with a pale blue and a pale pink. I used a piece of crocheted trim across the top, and I attached that down with alternating blue and pink French knots. Put a small safety pin down here to attach my treasure. My pocket, I blanket stitched around the edges of that. I used a piece of fabric that had flowers on it, and I was inspired by Rachel at Roxy's Creations to do her little hand stitch, I forget what she called it, just little running stitches, I guess, in the petals. And I love the way that turned out. And then I put some French knots in the centers. I used this piece of lace along the top. I stamped the word love on a little piece of fabric and stitched it down with some pink thread. And then my treasure is my kids' charms, photo charms from when they were babies. So this one is 47 years old, and this one is 43 years old. This is my little boy, my little girl. So, yeah, I couldn't think of anything I would rather put in my little pocket. They used to give these away as gifts when you had your kids' pictures made, and when you bought them, then you got these free. So I've had them all these years, and so I thought, well, I'll use them in this pocket. And then I'll put them on my ring now, but when this challenge is over, I'll just take the whole thing and put it back where I've been keeping them all these years. So that's my tags for last week and this week, and I'll see you next week with tag number 15. Bye for now.